All right, we are live. Give me 1 second to go live on Instagram.
Mhm.
All right. Okay, we are live on all platforms. Hey, kings and queens, it's Saundra
Yeah.
Fenwick, your mortgage consultant here. I am here with Leedino Inspection, Home Inspection Company, and I have Mr. Chris Risby, who I've worked with for a few years, and Mr. Leon Johnson, who is also a home inspector. And we are here to give you tips and tricks about home inspections, when to get them, what they're used for, why you need them, how often you should get them, all the good things about home inspections. So, hey, Chris,
How
go
you
ahead and
doing?
introduce yourself.
Okay, so Chris Risby. I work with Leon here as a partnership in the Leedino Home Inspection Company. Been home inspector for many years now. A lot of people know I've done over 30 years of home inspection. And yeah, I love houses. So home inspections are very important. If you're buying a house, call us to get it inspected. And Leon, you want to say?
Yeah, I'm Leon Johnson with Leedino Home Inspections. Chris and I are partners, and I've been doing this for about 6 years now. It's been a long road, but we're here now,
Mhm.
and I'm ready to answer any questions you may have concerning a home inspection and how important it is to make sure you get a home inspection before you purchase a house.
So, for me, um, for me, being a lender, the home inspection is not very important. I actually don't want to see the home inspection report. That can mess up the loan.
Right, we can
But
mess with you. We'll try not to.
yeah, for our buyers, it is 100% important. I recommend that everybody get a home inspection because we do appraisals. The appraisal is for the lender just to see what the house is worth, but it is not going to protect you as a buyer. So the home inspection allows you to know exactly what's going on in that property, and it allows you to make a better decision when you're buying a house. So, Chris, what type of stuff do you guys look
Oh, so
for in
basically,
the
yeah,
home
we
inspection?
home inspections. Okay, when it comes down to home inspections, we inspect single family, townhouses, multi-unit, and some commercial. Am I on the same page? Yeah. So home inspections are important. Why? Because most buyers don't know what they're looking for. The best thing to do is to get a professional who's been in the industry for many years, and that's where we come in to check all the areas of the house: electrical, plumbing, roofing, attic, exterior, foundation, to make sure everything is good because you don't want to go into a property that has defects or that's going to cost you a lot of money when you move in. The whole purpose of a home inspection is to find these things and get them either taken care of or negotiated. But that's not my area. But that's what a home inspection is for. Um, just and you have a peace of mind of what you're going into. So that's why it's always good to have a professional to go in and check all these areas out that you don't most people don't think of. A lot of people are thinking about painting and things that might be aesthetic, aesthetics in the property. But the most important thing is to see what's going on, make sure that nothing's going to break apart and have you and your family in a situation when you're living in a property.
All right,
Okay, and
great.
and also you want some negotiation leverage when you're purchasing a property. Um, the You can use the inspection report as leverage to negotiate the repairs or a lower purchasing price on the home, and it'll prevent you from having costly repairs that are going to cost you after you sign on the dotted line. It tells you the overall health of the home, and it gives you opportunity to make an informed decision about the home, understanding the property's condition. Um, you'll get a comprehensive assessment of the health of the home and some safety assurances. Hazards like radon, mold, carbon monoxide leaks, ensuring a safe living environment. So, protecting your investment. You want to protect your investment, without the burden of unexpected repairs after you've moved in.
Correct.
So, please, please recognize that it's very vital to have a home inspection prior to purchasing that property.
I agree 1000%. So you have people, these guys here, who are experts at looking at homes and looking at things that we can't see with the naked eye. Us as consumers, we're gonna go in there and say, "Ooh, this is shiny, it's pretty, I like it, it's nice," you know. But
Yep.
these professionals are like, "Yeah, it's pretty, but let me lift this up and look under it," you know. So that's very, very important um, to get in a home inspection. So, what are some of the most common things you guys see in home inspections that could pose a very expensive issue?
Well, we have a lot of homeowners who they so many words you can use like Jimmy rig or
You're right.
yeah, the coastal
Electrical
property,
issues.
electrical
You'd be
issues.
surprised at electrical issues. Um, Say an outlet has an open ground. You would never be able to tell that just by walking through the house. If
Right.
there's a reverse polarity on an outlet, you'll never be able to tell that. And sometimes you have aluminum wires. I think before 1970,
Right, 1970.
all houses, a lot of them had aluminum wires, which
Yep,
are actually a fire hazard.
fire hazard.
So right now, the only way you'll know whether that house has aluminum wiring is to get a home inspection.
Right.
And a lot of times the problems, sometimes the electrical outlets have problems like reverse polarity or a hot neutral, or it'll have an open ground. Those are items issues that, if not dealt with, can cause shock. You can have a shock hazard.
Fire.
You could also the fire hazard. And these are things that you will never know unless you get a professional to come in there and test each one of those outlets.
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct.
All right. So, do you actually open up the electrical wire? Or open up like the sockets and stuff? How do you tell
That's a
that?
good that's
Very
a
good
very
question.
good question. Well, as far as the aluminum wiring, you can just pull off the service panel in the house where the circuit breaker is, and you can see whether the wires are. Right now, they use copper wires, but you can tell whether it's copper or aluminum just by looking at it. But
Mhm.
we also have what's called an outlet tester, and once we plug into the outlet tester, it'll tell us whether it's an open ground, whether it's a hot neutral, whether it's reverse polarity. So we have tools of the trade that will give us to show us exactly what's going on with that outlet.
Okay. Okay.
Yep.
That's interesting. What about like water damage and leaks and stuff like that? Because sometimes
Well,
people can paint over that right before you're about to go view it, and you
and
just
that's a big issue we see. In a lot of houses, you go into an attic that people don't even think about. An attic is the area above the roof, or above your ceiling, between the roof and the over the roof, whatever. And you put your it's not supposed to be stored materials, but sometimes people don't think about what's in the attic. And a lot of times you go in the attic and you see one red flag is painted, the the deck boards and all that in there is painted white to cover up water problems. And that's a lot of times that could be an issue, and that is something that people don't think about. There's so many times I've been in houses that have fire damage, and they would paint over the truss and the structural areas inside of the attic to cover that up. And if a trained eye does not know what to see, you will pass that. Same thing with water too. I've seen that so many times in properties. But the thing is, you have to be very, open to seeing issues, because there are people out here who don't give a care about. They just want, to get the property or whatever, and that's going to put you in a position. But the trained eyes want to know what to do, what to look at, whether it's good or bad.
Let
So
me
yeah,
also piggyback on that. I'm gonna piggyback on that. We have a tool called a moisture meter. So if there's a leak behind a wall, we can put our moisture meter on there and tell if there's a leak behind the wall. But just an example of how important it is to have an inspection or have an inspector come in and take a look. Something as simple as a loose toilet. When you sit on the toilet, it moves. Well, I've had a situation where an individual, I did the inspection. I said she had all of the toilets were loose. I told her that the toilets were loose. I said, you need to have a licensed plumber come in, check the toilet, and make sure that there are no other leaks. Well, she didn't, even though she had the report, she didn't follow the report. And she called me a week later and water was everywhere. The toilet, because the toilet is hooked up to a water valve right behind it, when
yep,
someone sat on the toilet, it moved it and it broke.
wow.
So there was no way to turn the water. And the only way to turn that water off was to go downstairs and turn it off from the main water shut off. You shut the whole house down. So it's very important to have a home inspection, because you don't want that. And that's a thing about the mold that water could cause after it leaks
Mhm.
down into your wood and all that good stuff. Now you're in there breathing mold. I don't want to scare anyone, but I do want to let people understand that it's
Sure.
very important to have these things taken care of or checked out prior to moving in because it'll end up costing you in the long run.
Yep, sure will.
Okay. I'm glad you brought up mold because for me, I don't know if my lungs are stronger than some people, but I can walk into a house and feel mold in my chest. And I'd
Yep.
be like, well, you got a leak in here somewhere. I can feel it.
Yeah, more
And
fun.
but not everybody notices it. Like if I'm with other people, they be like, "What are you talking about? You smell something." So, do you guys have something that you test? Like, is it spores in the air? Is it moisture in the air? If just in case you're not like me and you can actually smell it.
No, actually, what we do
Okay.
is when we go into a home, I mean, yes, you can smell moisture sometimes when it gets into wood and soft surfaces. However, mold is that is a professional job. A
Yeah.
person a lot of people will
License.
go into a place and they'll see some soap scum, and it's
Mhm.
because it's dark, they automatically say it's mold. Half the time, it's not even mold. But I can tell you, without being a licensed mold expert, I can tell you that it's not mold, but I can't tell you that it is.
Right.
So what I would say is, I think you should have a licensed mold person come in here and take a look at that. Now,
Yep.
if I wipe it off and it comes right off, that's soap scum. But if it's embedded in that wood, and a lot of people think, if you maybe you've heard somebody say, well, you can use bleach or this stuff. All that does is you adding more moisture to that surface, so the mold is going to increase.
Going real. Yeah.
Yeah, or more chemicals to it. So now you got this conglomerate of poison,
Exactly.
making you sick.
Exactly.
That's awesome. So home inspection is so important. Once they're done with your inspection, they give you this report card type thing. It's this long report that counts out all of the stuff in your house. And it's very, very, very informative because you want to know what you're going into, what you're buying. Because this is your investment. I always say that people think they're just going to buy a house to live in, but this is actually, you're parking your money into this vehicle to make you more money. So that's why it's so important to get the home inspection. What other things that you guys check? I know it's some like the appliances as well.
Yeah, the appliances, making sure all appliances are working. HVAC is important. You know, making sure that your heating and cooling is running properly, efficiently. And just because it's on, it has to be checked to make sure it's running right, making sure it's cooling right, it's heating right. If you got heat pumps, making sure that heat pump is running, electrical emergency heating is running, and then you have your gas, making sure you're. But it's so many areas in the house that it just so many areas that
I
people don't
got
think about.
lost in there.
Oh, you're back.
Yeah, I'm
So
sorry. Sorry about that.
no,
Now,
that's fine.
can you
Yeah,
repeat that question one more
yes.
time?
No, I
Thank
was
you.
asking what other things do you check in the house outside of the electrical and the mold and stuff like that. And he was going into the appliances.
Yeah, and the
Okay.
HVAC. So yeah, like the HVAC, that's important. A lot of people think just because they're cutting the heating unit on, it's working. But there's so many areas and so many things you got to check, make sure it's heating and cooling properly. I've been in so many houses where like the heat pump wasn't running, or it was running constantly, or the cooling wasn't cooling right. You know, your eight coils weren't cooling or were dirty. Check your filters out, stuff like that. You know, people don't think about filters. That's a very important part. I always it's funny because I send out messages twice a year to people about changing filters. And I consider home inspection a training class because a lot of people don't understand and they're learning. That's why I say whenever you get a home inspector, walk with them, ask questions, ask as many questions as you can, because at that time that's you paying for that. So yeah.
Yeah, and also with the with what Chris was speaking on as far as the HVAC system. Well, the HVAC system consists of your heating system, your air system. You could have a heat pump. You could have a condenser, which is an your air conditioning portion of your HVAC system, or you can have a furnace. Either way, a lot of times, if the house, let's say the house was built in 2000, that means that right now that system, if it's the same system, and we can tell by the age of the system by the serial number on the back of the system, we can tell you that that system's 25 years old. The life expectancy
Right.
on these systems is generally about 15 years.
15 years old.
So
15 years.
if it's been maintained properly, it will last 20, 25, or longer. But most people don't do the maintenance. It's very rare that you go somewhere and someone had that thing serviced even once a year, let alone twice. So it's very important to know and that HVAC system costs upwards of 10 grand to replace. And you've been in this place 1 year. Now you're spending $10,000. So you want to make sure you know the age of that system. You want to make sure it's functioning properly. And one of the things that we do is we say that if usually when an HVAC technician comes out, he can say he'll do his maintenance, he'll do his service, and then he'll have a sticker on there with a date on it. And that date will tell us when the last time the system was serviced. Well, if we don't see that sticker, we just say that there's no signs, there's no signs that the system has been serviced within the last year. So we recommend having it serviced, even if it's working 100%.
Okay,
Yeah.
I love that.
Pretty true.
So that you guys do that for the major things like the HVAC and the water heater. Do
Water
you
heater.
do that also for the appliances as well? Like you could say your washer and dryer needs to be will probably need to be replaced soon, or you don't go that deep into it.
We don't. If the washer and dryer is functioning, then that's what we're looking for. We run it through a complete cycle. And a lot of people don't understand the home inspection is a snapshot in time. So it's what's happening while we're there. After we leave, we can't tell you that next week this washer and dryer is going to break down because we don't know.
Mm.
The only thing we can tell you is what's happening while we're at the inspection.
Right. And give you an idea of maybe what may happen on certain issues with certain plants.
Yeah, I'll even say, this washer looks like it's been here for years.
Right.
You can tell most new washers and dryers are kind of digital. And, if you see the hand dials on them, that's an older washer or dryer.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, nice. Now, what about stuff like gas lines? If they have a gas stove, do you guys make sure there's no leaks and stuff like that? Do you go that far behind the thing?
Well, what we do is, again, that's where, if you notice if you look at an inspection report, and I know a lot of people haven't seen one unless they bought a house recently, but if you look at an inspection report, we always say we recommend having a licensed individual, a licensed gas company, have the gas company come out. We recommend you have a licensed individual because we're home inspectors. We're not necessarily electricians or plumbers or any of that sort, but we know what to look for where we see something that may become an issue for you. We're going to say have a licensed individual come and check this out. We're never just going to say get the bootleg guy over there or your cousin or your uncle or one of your friends that does this on the side. We want you to have a licensed individual come in there and check this thing out.
Right.
Okay. I think I asked you last time, Chris, do you guys offer any services? So if there's a number of things and you're like, this need to be fixed ASAP, do you guys offer any contractor work or do you refer them to contractors or anything like that?
No.
No,
we don't.
I was just
refer that out there. That could be a conflict of interest in the last.
I was just thinking that. I was like, that could be a conflict. I know I asked you that last time, and I just thought about it like, he might say something wrong just so his buddy can fix it. Yeah, I get that. That could be a conflict. Because I think that you have to have some type of experience with these things to become a home inspector. What does it take? Let's go into that. What does it take to become a home inspector? And are you guys hiring? What if somebody wants to get into home inspection and they want to come on and join your
That
team?
requires class work. Just like a real estate agent, you would have to go through a course, pass the course, and pass the state license, then pay. So, and then there's a fee every year. Every 2 years, people got to think about keeping up the license and recertifications and stuff like that. So there are steps to it, but the first thing is you got to go find. They have many colleges and places out here that you can actually go through courses and get an idea of it. Learn it, pass that, and then you have to go through the state exam. And then after that,
so it has to be more than. Can you guys hear me? Did my sound go?
Yes.
I hear you. Yeah.
No, we hear you.
Okay.
It is not easy. It is not an easy test. I'm just going to put it out there. It requires definitely some due diligence. It requires some serious study. You can take the course. The course is not very expensive. It's less than $2,000 to take the course. Once you take the course, that test is pretty easy. It's that state exam that's nothing to play with. When you take that state exam, it requires a lot of study, and you really have to know what you're doing. And even after you pass the state exam, you still have to go out with when I first started, I went out with a person who had been in business 25 years. So, and within a year's time, I had picked his brain for every single thing. I mean, I asked so many questions. I know the guy got tired of me.
Mhm.
But by the time I decided to go off on my own, I had worked with a person who had been doing it for 25 years for 1 year, and he paid me $50 an inspection to do that. So it takes a little bit of ingenuity to become a home inspector. It's not as simple as it sounds.
It really isn't.
Yeah, so if someone's out here watching this and they like, wow, I love houses, like Chris said, I think I could do that, and you guys are very knowledgeable. Are you willing to do an apprenticeship or take somebody under your wing to help them?
I would be definitely be because that's how I learned. So I think that's a great
Mhm.
question because when I learned, I was like, okay, I'm going to be going out on inspections. And this person been in business for 25 years, so they had a lot of customers and they had a lot of agents that they worked with. And I would go out with them and I'm gonna get $50. I may be in this an hour or two in this house, and I'm only gonna get $50, but I felt like it was worth it if I wanted to work for myself. And I wanted to work for myself. So I went out with someone else as an apprentice. And I mean, it was a lot of eye-opening stuff. In fact, I came home and did an inspection on my own house. I was like, wow, I got a lot of stuff I gotta take care of in this house. So yeah, but once you get it, it's definitely worth it.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think I want to learn. Now I don't want to take no testing to do exams and all that, but I do
Well,
want
let
to
me tell you,
learn.
the test is $225 every time you take it.
Yeah.
So if you don't pass it the first time, you can wait a couple of weeks and you can take it again. You can wait every time you take it, it's $225, and that could 4 times, that's $1,000.
Hmm.
That's $1,000. That's just to take the test. And if the score you need to get on it is 500, 499 is not going to get it.
Not gonna cut
So
it.
you really have to study.
Yeah, that's
So the
what
question too about
it's similar to getting your mortgage license as well.
right.
I failed my test the first time. I had to take it a second time.
I did too. I did too.
Yeah. So, so that's great to know. Now, Chris, we touched a little bit on new construction the last time you was on here, because a lot of people think, oh, my house is brand new, it's good, everything in it new.
Yeah.
And we were discussing how many issues you guys come across on a new inspection property. Please tell people how important it is to get your new construction house inspected and how often you have to do that throughout the building process.
Okay. Well, they call that as a pre-drywall inspection. So basically, it's an inspection before the drywall up to look behind the walls. I mean, there's been some issues I've seen. I've been in houses that did pre-drywall that they didn't put insulation in certain areas, or the wiring was wrong. There's a couple of them. The wiring was not right, and it was a good idea to catch it before they built the house, because now you got to take the drywall back out or take the outlet, whatever. But yeah, it's just basically when they're putting, they got the concrete and you putting your joist up and your studs up and everything, the electrical. Then that's when we'll come in and do what they call a pre-drywall, and then we could do it after that, which would be the new construction inspection. So there's it's like two parts of that if you want to talk about it. But it's important. I've done a handful of them. People getting houses built, and going there and check it out before it came up. So I would recommend that. Builders don't like that. Builders hate us on that note, but it's not about the builder, it's about the person buying the house. It's just you. So yeah.
Absolutely. And I've done a few pre-draw walls recently. Basically, a builder is a new development is coming online, and someone's buying this house, and I think it's very smart to get that like Chris said, get that pre-drywall inspection, because the walls aren't up yet, and you'll be surprised that sometimes shortcuts are taken. Sometimes damage is done by there's wood that's chipped and cracked that's going to be holding your house up, and these are things you won't know unless you do the pre-drywall inspection.
Yeah, you got to think too. Just because it's Ryan Homes or Ryland Homes, whoever, they're contracted out contractors, so you got to make sure that's right, because a lot of times they're building a bunch of houses. Not saying the guys are lazy, but it just might be something that's overlooked, or somebody just done a quick job. Because if you got a development with 100, 200 houses, they might have had a bad day on one house, and that's the one that you want to get checked before you. I've been in houses where they had one house I did, they had the rafter inside of the attic was cracked, It's literally broken.
Ooh,
Yeah, and that would have been
wow.
an issue over time because snow and weight over that thing would have just caused an issue. So that was something I caught.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that could
Yeah.
have been a simple something. They was probably putting it on the truck or something. It probably cracked or something. They just went on and fixed that, finished the house. But yeah, you want to fix that something like that before you buy the house.
Okay. Um, I was I've heard a lot of stories about that because these builders sometimes you look at it, you could ride past here this month and then next month the house will be completely finished. And I'll be like, how did they build a whole house in 4 weeks? Like that's crazy. So I would definitely recommend a home inspection if you're getting a new construction. Because I've seen they hire sometimes they hire people just to get the job done because it's a
Mhm.
deadline. It needs to be finished by
Mhm.
this. And like Chris said, there are a lot of shortcuts taken, and they give you like some builders give you a 1 year warranty
And
if
you get the fire,
anything goes
yeah,
wrong.
and you want
Yeah, yeah. But I know people who swear I'm never buying a new construction because a lot of times the house settles, stuff shifts, nails pop off the wall. So you have to, that pre-drywall inspection, you have to get the inspection done. Well, you don't have to, but you should get the inspection done just to make sure that the foundation of the house is correct before they
Absolutely.
put those walls up. And then it looks nice and pretty and you don't know what's going on.
Well, Sandra, also with the pre-drywall inspection, and Chris touched on this, and you didn't see houses settle.
yeah.
You'll be surprised at the issues that can happen when the house is settling. Sometimes people automatically assume that it's this major issue if you see a at the closet door or at the corner of a window, you'll see a crack. Well, it's
Mhm.
just paint separated basically because the house is settling. Generally,
Right.
if you see a line that looks like a crack, if it's vertical, it's usually just normal settlement. You just need to paint over it.
Seven
But
crack.
Wow.
if it's horizontal, that's a problem that needs to be addressed like right away.
Yeah.
Wow. 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 Okay, so you do the pre-drywall and then you recommend another inspection before they do their final like
Yep.
walkthrough thing?
Yep.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay,
So
perfect.
it's
Okay.
definitely two parts.
Okay. Okay, gotcha. Um, Heck, I just lost my train of thought. I was gonna ask y'all something real important. Um, y'all, I'm getting old. I
We
get
all.
distracted and it blanks out. I blank out everything.
Yeah. The like I said, the home inspection. Trying to think of something that and then, like okay, like exterior. So this is one thing people don't think about. Like you may have on a newer property, you may have the grass. All right, thank you. So you may have
Excuse me, guys. I have to
okay.
step out for like 30 seconds. I'm going to take myself out of it, but you keep on talking and I'll be right back. Okay.
Okay. So I was getting into was the grass. A lot of times the and I'm pretty sure you agree with this, Leon. The you may have settling or standing water. That's what I want to get to in an area of a grass on a new property or something like that. So sinkholes. You ever look at a house with a sinkhole? Or like a
I've definitely gone into yards where there's standing water, and that's never good.
yeah, it's not good.
You
Yeah,
see standing water in the middle of the yard, that could be a leak from a
yeah,
pipe that
or a
runs
pipe.
from the house to the street, which is the center of the street is usually where the water runs. The pipe runs from the house, and that could be anywhere from a 60 to 100 feet.
Right,
So
right.
if that pipe is cracked under your yard, and you want to know why the grass won't grow there, because it's waste
Mm-hmm.
that's
Well, I've seen that
right
many
under that
times.
area right there.
I've seen that many
So
times. Yeah. Yeah, that's important. And then sinkholes. I mean, I don't want to scare nobody, but you want to protect the buyer. That's the main thing. But there are a lot of issues. Like you were saying, Leon, the cracks, exterior cracks, stuff like that. It's important. So yeah. Okay. No, I'm fine. So
a
yeah.
home a home a home inspector a home inspection can also help the seller as well,
Mm-hmm.
because basically it could cut down on future disputes.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Somebody instead of somebody coming back to you after they've moved in, I've had a few sellers done inspections for sellers. It's rare, but it happens as well. So sometimes it's not just the buyer. Sometimes the seller can get a handle on what's going on at the house before it's being sold, because a lot of times houses are sold as is with no warranties.
Right. Exactly.
That is a great point you brought up. I never thought about that. If I'm here and I'm like, oh, I want to sell my house, but I want to make sure I get top dollar for it. Do people hire you guys to do that, like to come in and inspect and let them know where they should be upgrading and what they should be looking for?
I've done that many times. A seller, they know that they've been in the house for a long time, or some of them have rented the house out. The house has been rented for 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, and they know it's certain things that are going wrong in that house. And before they put it on the market, they'll have me come in and just do an inspection so I know what's going on. And then they can also pass that inspection report on to the buyer, so that they don't have to pay that.
Yep.
Oh, I love that. That's great. All right, and then the one last question I wanted to ask you guys is how deeply do you get into the roof? I know a lot of people have roofing issues when they bought their house.
The roof. So you have flat roofs, you have gable roofs, you have hip side roofs, you have ramble roofs. So there's different style roofs that you have. Each roof has to be, I ain't gonna say inspected differently, but like for instance, a flat roof. A lot of houses in DC, Baltimore, Oxon Hill, areas like that, we got flat roofs. It's important to try to get up on there. If not, we will recommend what they call a roofing certification. And that's just a paper that has the roofer actually go up and they look at it and give you a certain amount of years left on the roof. Now, we do mainly our inspections from the ground with binoculars, and we can pretty much see just about everything on a gable style roof where the roof can be visible from the street. You can see the lifting of the shingles or any type of what they call bowing or any type of moss growing on there. Moss on the roof is indicating that there's no ventilation in the attic and no limited ventilation. So in a flat roof, try to get up there if we can. Look up there and give you an idea of what you got going on, how many years, what type of roof it is, the material, life expectancy. But see, going in the attic is important as well too, because the roof in the attic plays a part too, but they kind of work together. So a lot of times you can go in the attic and tell if you got something on the roof, and that's a way of seeing if you got leak stains in the attic. Well, that's coming from the roof. So very important.
Also, you can tell, you can look at a roof, and if you see a shingle missing, that's a telltale sign. Then there's also hail damage.
Right.
We use the binoculars, but we can also use a drone. We can send a drone up there and take a real close look at it, which I do have. But like Chris said, the most where you can really find out what's going on. I love doing inspections when it's raining. I hate to say that because the roof is probably one of the most expensive parts of the house. It's nothing for a roof to cost. When you go up in the attic, you see those. Sometimes when it's raining, they'll actually be wet, so it's not necessarily. It's just that water's penetrating.
Your volume went down. Low, or it went out and then it's like really low now.
Oh, it's just damn his he probably got service. But so he was saying we have drones, we can go there, lift the shingles, what he was saying, but definitely that's a very good point. In the rain, that's the best time to do a home inspection. People are scared to go out there. I'm like, no, I tell people if it's raining, go schedule it, because you want to see a lot more issues than you would see.
Well, what you'll see is when you go in the attic, you'll see wet spots as opposed to old water stains that have dried up. So if it's raining, you actually get to see, hey, that roof, there's water penetration. And there are things called penetrations, like where your bathroom vent or your chimney, stuff like that goes through the roof. A lot of times if someone has solar panels, they had to make penetrations to solidify those solar panels to the wall. You can have a leak at either one of those corners. So it's very important to make sure that roof, and again, we're not roofers. So what we say is, what do we say, Chris, when we see those penetrations in the roof? And we see
roofer to go out and look at for the evaluation.
Roofer. Thank you. Yeah,
I love
and
that.
when we tell people, when we recommend those things to people, sometimes you have to really say it to them in a way that they get it, because
Yeah,
sometimes people think, I'm getting ready to put all my money into this house. I don't have any extra money for all this other stuff. Well, that's where the negotiation leverage comes in. You can work that if you have a really good agent, they can work that out with the seller to either take that cost off of the listing price or give them some kind of credit so they can have this stuff taken care of.
yeah. Yeah, there are different type of escrows. The seller can give you a credit at closing, or they can put the money to do the repairs in the escrow account once they get, once you or them get an estimate, and then once you close, the title company will disperse that to whomever's going to fix it. So those are definitely that's where how it works on the lender's end. So you said you guys do commercial properties as well. I did not know that.
Yes.
That's
Yes,
great
sir.
information.
Yeah, we'll
Yeah, because
inspect. We'll inspect a barn. We don't care. You got it. We'll inspect it.
okay, I love that. I love that. So, guys, we've been on here for 36 minutes. I try to keep it to about 30 minutes or less. So, this was a great live. I appreciate you all for coming on. I can tell just from listening to you guys, I've learned a lot. And I can tell that you're passionate about this. I can tell that you're professionals. I can tell that you know what you're talking about. And when you're looking for a home inspection company to hire, you want people like this to do your home inspection. So if you guys need to get in touch with Leedino, Mr. Leon, or Mr. Chris, can you guys give them your contact information?
You want?
Yes. Leedino Home Inspections. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn. You can also call us at 202-717-2728 or 240-602-0397. Or you can also text us at either one of those phone numbers. And if we're in inspection, we'll get back to you right away.
Yep. And the website is Leedino-inspections.com. Make sure you put the dash between Leedino and inspections.
All right.
And I also want to thank you, Samantha. This was I did not know about this, so I just want to give you all the props in the world for your professionalism and how you brought this together. I mean, I think it was really good.
Yeah, this is amazing. I'm so passionate about real estate, not just making money off of selling houses. It's so important because our community, us growing up, we was not taught about buying houses. We wasn't taught about how important it is to own real estate. But we also people say, "Oh, I'm just going to buy a house." It's very, very, very important that you know what you're getting into. So that's why the home inspection is necessary. So it's my goal to educate my community using this platform, so we can get our leg up. You know, we so far behind. We got to catch up. So these are for educational purposes. It's also to help us build our businesses and bond as a community. Because the stronger we are together, the stronger we're going to be as a people. So that's my goal.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you guys for joining me. We are out. You can watch this live at saundraspeaks.com. If you missed the whole thing, you can go on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Please comment. Please share it with anybody that you may think may need this information, and reach out to the fellas. If you don't have their information, reach out to me and I'll get it over to you. Thank you guys for joining us. Have a great day.
Thank you. Bye.
All right.